Here is Marcus Hausemann working in his stable. And here he is sitting in Parliament. He's a member of the House of Representatives for the Swiss People's Party. As is often the case with Swiss MPs, he has a second job, farming. For him, it's clear when he's done a good job.
That is when we get a sustainable agricultural policy. Sustainable means that besides concerns for ecology and resources, we secure the livelihood of the farmers' families who dedicate themselves to agriculture.
Hausemann is not alone. While anticipating a budget discussion in the House of Representatives, a group of MPs who are also farmers meets to adjust their strategy. They, along with their colleagues who work in the agricultural sector, represent almost all political parties. There are 13 farmers in the right-wing Swiss People's Party, 2 in the centre-right Conservative Democratic Party, 4 among the centre-right Liberals, 6 in the centre-right Christian Democratic Party, and 1 among the Greens. That's 26 in total. In other words, 13% of the House of Representatives is made up of farmers, compared with just 3.5% of Switzerland's total working population. As a result, economic policies from left to right are influenced by the disproportionate number of farmers.
In my opinion, it's the only stable majority we have in Parliament. If the farmers want something, most of the time they manage to obtain a majority.
But what are the consequences of this strong influence?
Quite senseless regulations, excessive prices, market petitioning, which leads to customers shopping abroad.
The historian Peter Moser has written several books on the history of Swiss agriculture. He puts the political power of farmers into perspective.
What have been the results of this disproportionate representation of farmers? It hasn't led to major structural changes. In the past 100 years, we've seen a more or less continuous decrease in the number of farmers compared to the total population. From this perspective, the extent of their representation is rather a failure.
Today, Switzerland's agricultural workforce is 4 times smaller than 100 years ago. In 1920, farmers were 26% of the total population. That's compared to 8.5% in 1970 and 3.5% today. For decades, agriculture has been under political pressure to implement industrial production methods, but farmers have always defended themselves against those changes by developing political power.
Maybe paradoxically, the success of this so-called farmers' lobby has contributed to the disappearance of a considerable portion of the farmers' community. At the same time, they have contributed to relatively successful agricultural policies from the point of view of an industrial society.
The farmers' representation in Parliament plays a central role in what agricultural practices survive and which disappear.
We don't just want to diligently implement structural changes, nor do we want to hinder them. We know they're taking place, but it must be at a rate that farming families can bear.
Politicians with a farmer's background have, still today, a strong influence on policy making. So it's not a coincidence that Switzerland is one of the top providers of agricultural subsidies, second only to Norway. A policy that, in turn, ensures the subsistence and political influence of small farmers.